Welcome to Spurs Ration TV. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you are around the world, right? Of course, it's going to be 2 a.m. in the morning, Malaysia here. I think this is the only time I'll be able to do some shows. 2 a.m. And then there's some echoes back here. Gotta switch off some volumes. Yeah, technical issues. Yeah, I've been doing this for 6 years and still not professional enough. Now, guys, as you saw in the thumbnail, right? But before I go, I say big up to Mani, right? And of course, Guy, right? They're all in the chats at the moment, right? Let's say wrong account. We'll keep forgetting wrong account, right? And the link is in the chats. If anybody wants to join, can join me, right? If anybody's watching, I know a lot of other big channels are on at the moment. So I'm a little tiny channel, right? It's been doing this TV outing for a long time. But today I just have to come here and talk about the game on Sunday and the overreaction from the Spurs fan base, right? And of course, it's in the title. This is my opinion, this is my view, right? And of course, everyone's entitled to their opinion and their view of what's happening, right? We know we are a shit show at the moment. We can't hide that, right? It's been a shit show for a long time. And ever since I've been doing YouTube, it's been getting from bad to worse. Number one, we buy relegation teams, players. That's why we got players like Oda Bear and all that, right? Hold on, Mani's joining me. Let me add him to the studio, right? Hi, Mani. How you doing? Oh, he's dropped off. I don't know, maybe internet. All right, as I was saying, right? How would we put this? Right, we've been buying under quality players, right? Players from teams who are getting relegated from the Premier League, right? And hoping that we can turn them around and all that. So we've collected a lot of rubbish and low quality players, but of course, they are still considered as Premier League level players and all that. And most probably they might. I don't know, we do get relegated, but we won't go there now, right? Because that will be a whole totally different episode. At the moment now, I'm just going to focus on just one thing, is that we are overreacting again, right? Be honest, fan base, right? Please be honest with yourself, right? We never were expected to beat Arsenal, right? And to tell the truth, hopefully, to put Igor Tudor in that situation, we can't escape the fact that we put him in a shit situation, right? The players are going through their third manager. You get what I'm saying? So if they're going through their third manager at this moment in time, right, I feel that he should be given a chance, right? At least 2 more games. At least 2 more games to see whether he can get a tune out of his place. But there were a lot of bad signs there, right? Like, VDV is ignoring him. The players are ignoring him and all that. So let's see how it goes. Let me see. Let me bring on Mani now. All right, he looks more stable. Mani, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear, Eugene. Thank you very much for having me on. And thank you for also sending me the link to this. And there shouldn't be any talk.
No, the link is out there in the chat now, right? All you guys are watching, right? If you want to hop on and let me know, right, how you really feel. Because I feel, right, our fan base is totally overreacting to the loss to you guys, right? I know the performance wasn't there. The first half, we put up a bit of a fight, right? But in the second half, right, Mani, I told you, right? I said in the halftime review, I said we were too open, right? And we're going to get smacked. And we were open and we got smacked, right? So the thing is that a lot of people now is looking at Tudor is not right for this job. Do you think, are we judging him too quickly?
Of course you're judging him too quickly. I mean, listen, it was a horrible situation for Tudor to come into because, look, sacking Frank was actually the right thing to do, but it should have been done a few games ago. Exactly, too late. So when you have a situation where, the manager comes in his first game is effectively the North London derby, and you are expecting him to try and, really build the team up for this and try and get a tune out of them. He's going to struggle. And you have a situation where you've got far too many injuries and some of the players you have are just not quite able to really, get to grips with everything. I don't even know if he had that much time to be able to work with the players effectively. So
five days or so, right? 5 or 6 days.
Exactly. So, there was a part there were some Arsenal fans like myself, mind you, who weren't very confident of a win. I mean, I was hoping that we'd get, a 2-1 win, anything to sort of, help us recover from that absolutely horrible performance against a Wolves team who, mind you, were very unlucky to have been denied a win at the Tottenham Stadium with that João Palhinha equaliser. And quite a few people have said the way that Palhinha celebrated that equaliser, that was a sign in many ways that even the players knew that it was going to get a little bit bad. And that, in many ways, preceded the rot that has started to set in. And I think the Aston Villa home loss kind of started to confirm it, and then it went from bad to worse. So it was a horrible situation for Tudor to be in. And I have to give credit to Arsenal. We did get our act together. It wasn't a completely, outstanding performance in that sense of the word. But I will definitely say that we did what we had to do. And let's also not forget about the fine margins. You take a look, for example, at that second goal, which was disallowed when Kolo Muani pretty much had his hands on Gabriel Magalhaes' lower back. Now, according to the letter of the law, I suppose the goal had to be disallowed because if you put your hands on, anyone else's back, that's you're basically pretty much making yourself guilty by circumstance. But for Gabriel to belly flop to the ground the way he did, I mean, that absolutely disgusted me to no end. And he's one player in this current Arsenal side that I absolutely despise. But without digressing any further, I've even seen situations where circumstances like that have not resulted.
The game where the Liverpool game, TK pushed Romero, and that goal was given, right? And that was
exactly.
So the thing is that
exactly.
Okay, I don't want to. No, the point now is that right, we have lost. That is the fact, right? Big up, Dio. Hope you're doing well. All right. So all I'm gonna say now, right, is why is our fan base overreacting to the fact that I've been saying this, right? This game is going to be a write-off for him because we can see that the players are confused at the moment. You know what I'm saying? And he can't get into their to get them to work to see how to get a tune out of them. So the only thing is that we only can give him a few more games. But I mean, if when the time comes, if he still can't get a tune out of these guys in 2 or 3 games time, maybe four games, then I think the panic button will be pushed. Will be second manager again? That's my question. But at this moment in time, the overreaction is no one is talking about it. You get what I'm saying? We are just all of a sudden we are just all talking about being relegated. You get what I'm saying? So that mindset really boggles me.
It should bother you. It should bother you because at this particular point in time right now, it's effectively one game at a time. And I'm sorry for having gone on a bit too long about that. I keep talking about the fine margins. You score that equalising goal, you go to 2-2. Our confidence dips. You are literally cock-a-hoop, and now you go on to win things. But it could have led to better things. But again, it's ifs and buts. And
it's a bus, right? We could have scored that. Hold on, we could have scored that second goal too, right? And you guys still have gone on and scored 2 more or 3. But the only thing that if we had scored that second goal, it would look better on him because, it showed that we had some fight. But when you see the problem, I think with Spurs players at the moment, right, it's a mental thing. We weren't given a goal, and they also went, what's the point? And it's like all of them just gave up. You get what I'm saying? So at this point in time, the players in this scenario should take the blame too because they aren't showing up. Right.
Exactly. The players should definitely take the blame. And I think even the players in their heart of hearts probably understood that once the second goal was scored, I think it was early in the second half because it was 1-1 at half time, if memory serves me right. Yeah. I just think it was a case of, the players thinking that no matter what they could possibly do, it just wouldn't be good enough. But apart from that second disallowed goal, you did have your chances. Raya, allowed a ball to go through his legs and somehow he clawed it off the line. And people have been talking about that as another terrific save. But that fella has been quite shaky. And I've had several friends saying that, this should have been a test for Spurs to see if they could psych themselves up for this big North London derby, because over the years, having seen many North London derbies on the different managers, that this is one game that Spurs should be able to psych themselves up to do well in. And if you were able to recover from a 2-0 deficit against Manchester City to draw 2-2, thanks of course to Dominic Solanke, his brace, there were some people who were asking, why couldn't you show that level of fight against this team? And that has to go on the players, because you cannot really blame Tudor.
And to tell you the truth, right? I not only want to blame it on the players, and it has to be blamed on the board and the people running the club, because what they've done is, right, they shouldn't have sacked Frank for the North London derby, right? If Frank got hammered, they sacked him. Then you know what was the problem? They were afraid that Frank might get a result, and they might, have to stick with him. That's what they were afraid, and they sacked Frank because they were afraid, right? Because I think they were losing money in certain aspects, in certain areas of our income generating stadium, right?
Yes.
The players and the scenes were bad until you could see, right, the south stand being emptied, zero, nada. You get what I'm saying? So, all I can say is that that's why it bothers me. You get what I'm saying? It bothers me. But the only thing is that I say we give him 2 more games. Look at what he can do with Fulham. If not, Fulham and Crystal Palace, right? If I'm not mistaken, the next 2 games. Fine.
Yes, Fulham and Crystal Palace. That's right.
Yeah. If we can, and don't forget, right? Those 2 games are London derbies too.
Of course.
And it's a derby, right? And the truth, Crystal Palace needs the points. If they beat us, right, they will pull away from us, correct? And Fulham, to tell the truth, Fulham is like quite stable where they are in mid-table, right? Sometimes they show up and they put up a good result. Sometimes they get unfairly beaten.
Of course. I mean, speaking of being unfairly beaten, you will have point to some moments in that North London derby where it could have been all too different. But I just think the lack of fight. Maybe it was a question of, the players deciding that, things aren't going our way. We might as well just, say, you know what, let's pack it in. And I think when Gyökeres scored that 4th goal to put the tie beyond all doubt, that was pretty much, it was the final nail in the coffin. But obviously now you've got to sort of look at this as more or less a free hit. And, the worst part is I talk about free hits, and this is another reason why I say that despite the fact that we're rivals, there's not too much difference between us, because whenever we would have these...
What are you talking about? There's not much difference between us. Bro, you're number 1, and we are, 16?
If you would please allow me to articulate myself, dear sir. Let me articulate myself, okay? Thank you very much indeed. Now, the reason why I say that there is not that much difference between us is that we also used to have the talk of free hits ourselves, especially whenever we would, go on these campaigns for the title, beating all these mediocre teams and saying, oh, we could win the league. And we wouldn't really do well against Manchester City. We'd say, this Manchester City game is nothing more than a free hit. As long as we, win our other games, we're good. But that was the mentality which came back to bite us in the backside in the worst possible way. 3 consecutive seasons without winning the title. And that is something that, has somehow hurt us. I suppose what happens right now is that, how they say that the biggest advantage of hitting rock bottom is that the only way that you can go will be up? Well, I would like to think in many ways that this could possibly be a realization that now that you've, gone to this sort of a low, losing 8-2 on aggregate to us in 2 games, 4-1 scorelines both home and away, you've got to realize now it is now or never, as Alfie Boe famously sang. And so once you start to realize that, you can somehow try and move forward. So the players have now got to start taking a little bit more accountability, and there is going to have to be some really honest conversations from the so-called leaders in the team, be it Christian Romero or Mickey van der Ven or some other people. I have said to people like the Spurs analyst, Dan, of course, that once the season is over, you've got to have a full reset. Just cull some of the players that really aren't good enough, and now you're going to have a problem, as with Aston
Yeah,
Villa,
the
that
thing
the
is,
players
yeah,
you might look
I
to
know.
sell might not want to be bought by clubs.
Yeah, but the thing is that, okay, before we go on, psycho teacher Marco, right, from Brazil. Right? What time is that? Is it with you guys? It's 2 a.m. here, right? Brazil is like what? 12 hours? 16 hours? 8 hours? Join me. If you're going to join me, right? And Tony Stark famously said, all right, we are in the end game now. No, it's not the end game, right? Most we get relegated, and then we start from there again, right? We begin from there again, right? And then we can fall down unless you fall all the way out of Northern League, right? But that would be the end game, right, for Spurs. But nah, I don't think so. The only thing is, like what I've been saying, right? If these players at this moment still can't get it, I don't know, can't get it in their head, right? They have to show up to fight to actually win the fans over. Sooner or later, if we keep sacking managers, right, that means the players are a problem. And the thing is that who can actually motivate them to come back up again?
Yeah, that's the point. And so this is probably another reason why a large number of people were suggesting maybe bringing back an old manager, someone like, if not necessarily Harry Redknapp or even Glenn Hoddle. I mean, both of them, I think, for health or age-related reasons, are out of the picture. Bring in someone like, say, Tim Sherwood. Yes, he's doing some punditry work for the Premier League channel, but if Spurs gave him the call, I'm pretty sure he would have responded. Because at this particular point in time, you need some people who have, managed the club at times in the past and who know what it means in many different cases.
I'm going to be controversial here, right? Yeah, big up. Right, what did Marco say? Let me see. Hold on. Yeah, it would be what? Immense.
An immense honor.
Okay. Oh, you're working. All right. Work is important, bro. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Okay.
Work is worship.
I'll be controversial here. Right? The only manager who got tuned out of this group of players, right? Because most of them are still there, and a lot of them are injured. We can't deny that, right? I think if we brought back Big Ange, right, we would survive. That's what I say. We bring back Ange.
Wow.
Yeah, right. Because at this moment, right, they've lost total respect for the club and the board because Romero keeps calling them out, all right, and he doesn't get punished, right? Which money? Imagine if you're the boss, right, or you're the manager or something. One of your co-workers were below you. I mean, you're managing him, right? Turns around and gives you the finger and calls you, all kinds of foul language, right? What would you say? You'd be sacked, right?
Of course.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Our club at the moment, right, ain't showing they've got balls to do the right thing. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's why we don't show we have balls to do the right thing. We keep doing the wrong thing. Okay. Sacking Frank too late, wrong thing. If you have kept him for so long, right, you should have stuck it out with him, right? At least a couple more games and see whether really they can get something out of it. But then, okay, it's done, right? It's the same thing like we said, Ange, it's done. He won us a trophy and we don't even account for that, right? So now Tudor is here. North London derby was a shitty position to be in, correct?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And the thing is that how can he now, right, get this group of guys, not boys, right, guys, men, right, who make more money than you and I could ever imagine, right? That's why I'm saying football is being spoiled now because money has called degraded, right? I heard news of what Man City is going to get what 60-point or 40-point deduction. Do you think that will happen? I don't think so, right? Because money talks, right? So only way now is to get a tune of these guys in the next 2 games, then we move on. We have confidence, right? To tell the truth, if we get a draw, 2 draws, I think that should show some improvement. That's how low I've gone to, right? Because we're playing Fulham away. Hopefully that will draw, and playing Crystal Palace at home. And at home, you're not mistaken. And that never actually works out well. Or if we're playing them away, it'll be worse. You guys saying so? Hoping for 2 draws, right? The only wins I see coming from, I think it will be against Forest and maybe Leeds. Are we playing Leeds again? And maybe hopefully by end of the season, Everton game. That will be the cliffhanger for us, Manny. Watch out. That's going to be the cliffhanger. But even before that,
Yeah.
who is going to be the manager? That is the thing, right? Will Tudor still be there? That is my question. If we don't give him a chance, the fan base jumps on his back now. The poor man won't make it, bro. You know how bad Spurs fans are?
Yeah. I mean, it's a horrible position for
Palace and Leeds. Okay. Oh, you see Palace. Okay, guys sees it from Palace too. I don't see it. Maybe
yeah. Well, I mean, the Palace also are a team in crisis right now. In case you didn't know, because obviously, you know, with the whole issue of Glasner leaving, they also ended up having a pretty poor run of form. And don't forget, you actually beat them at Selhurst Park earlier on in the league. One of the few clubs that have been able to do that successfully. And you know, Fulham also are a team that, yes, they are in an excellent run of form, but they also notoriously blow hot and cold. The Liverpool game is going to be another free hit, because they're gunning for Champions League football. And Nottingham Forest under Pereira, I mean, somehow, believe it or not, they've managed to improve really well. And I mean, they had a great performance against Fenerbahce in the Europa League, and they should be playing tomorrow to secure their passage into the knockout phase. It'll remain to be seen whether he can help them recover from the travesty that was Sean Dyche. Sunderland are also starting to slip a little bit. Brighton beat Brentford. Wolves as well, away from home at Molineux. I think that should be a game that you should look to win. Aston Villa will
Wolves,
probably have your number.
No, Manny, sorry. Right? We've never been able to beat Wolves in, I think, the past 3 or 4 seasons. At Molineux, they've got our number there, right? So
they are as good as they are relegated. You know that.
I mean, no, they are relegated, but they will play with the freedom of no fear. You guys say that? Our players can't handle the fear, the pressure. Conte said it, right? They don't like the pressure. Buy players that don't like pressure, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So, I think if I could just take a look and see what is really going on and why things are like this, it's quite simple. The fish rots from the head down. The board really are the root of every single problem. I just don't know what it was that persuaded them that sacking a Europa League manager who ended up killing 2 birds with 1 stone, winning the trophy and getting Champions League football would be a bad thing. Because, you know, granted, you might have lost a bit of revenue from the poor league position, but when you win that Europa League and get the Champions League revenue, and you also now have the broadcast revenue for what it's worth, you know, there is still a way, something about that that could have been worked on. People compare it to the Eric Ten Hag situation at Manchester United, but Ten Hag had already started to lose the trust of the players. The players made it clear that they loved Big Ange a great deal. And there is a very big part of me that thinks that the way Frank approached things...
Bring back Big Ange. That's why I said, bring back Big Ange. Big Ange will get a tune of these guys. But because
would he, though? Would he? Well, I mean, you know, would the board, though...
Okay, let's count who is left now that's fit, right? That Ange had managed. Vicario is there. I think Spence is there, right? Porro is out. VDV and Romero is there, right? Denso is out. Who else? Solanke, yeah.
Don't forget to use Bissouma. I think Bissouma really played some good football under Ange, I'd like to think.
So that's what I'm saying. Bring him back. The boys will get back their confidence. You get what I'm saying? Bro, when our club sacked Ange, right? Our club basically, right, grabbed the balls of every player and pulled it out. You get what I'm saying? That's how I feel now, you know? So I don't know what to say, man. We look like a social experiment or some kind of a sacrifice, right, to the football gods and all that, right? I don't know.
I agree completely, but the biggest issue, though, Eugene, and you know this well, is that the board, having taken that big egotistical step to sack him, would not do a 180 and say, you know what, we were wrong, come back. And there is still a very big part of me that overlap interview that he did a lot to burn bridges between some of the fans and him. And some of the fans have made it crystal clear that, you know, even if Ange is speaking the truth, he's not really the best messenger. And then, of course, you have those idiots, O'Hara and Cundy on TalkSport, among a few others, that other idiot, Goldstein, who will have whatever reason or another to try to bash him for any opportunity that they can really get. So why would he want to go back? It's once bitten, twice shy. But and here this comment is interesting. He'd get us relegated swinging, meaning that you'd have more of those 4-1 losses at home to Chelsea because his system proved his inability to score with our players. There were actually some games, mind you, where you did score quite a few goals. And one team which bore the brunt of Ange ball was Aston Villa. That 2023-24 season, you thrashed them 4-0 at Villa Park. And the following season, you also gave them a good hiding at the Tottenham Stadium 4-1. So, you know, there were possibilities with the players then, the way things were performing. But then it was only around when the injuries really started to pile up that the form absolutely tailed off. So I don't believe that Ange deserves as much blame. But I don't want to talk too much about Ange because a large number of people clearly are divided on him. The only issue I have right now is that Tudor needs to be backed at least until the end of the season. It's almost a little bit like when Sheffield United sacked Paul Heckingbottom somewhere beyond the middle of the season. Chris Wilder was brought in. And, you know, Chris had to be given until the end of the season to sort of stabilize everything. At least the club knew that in Wilder they had someone who could at least, you know, get a tune out of the players and motivate them because he loved the club. So that was why bringing back someone like, you know, a Tim Sherwood or someone else would have at least provided a bit of stability. With Igor Tudor, people don't know too much about him. And the fact that he was Conte's ex-teammate at Juventus should raise the question, why didn't Conte dissuade his ex-teammate from taking the job in the first place?
Oh, because Conte told him, it's easy money, bro. They'll give you £1 million. You go there and play 3 games, right? After that, they'll sack you and pay you the £3 million.
Oh, yes.
Oh, you know what I'm saying? No, guys, we throw money at managers like, I don't know, a billionaire in a strip club, you know? We go, like that gun that shoots dollar notes out or whatever, currency out. We do that. That's the problem. Okay, it comes down, we all know, it's the owners and blah, 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 right? But the thing is that now we have to look at our fixtures, and the only thing is that we have to give support to this manager. If we don't give support to this manager, right, in the next 2-3 games or 4 games, right, if he gets sacked, right, what's going to happen in the Spurs fan base? Are we going to go into an emergency stream, multi-meltdown for 48 to 72 hours? Guys, back this manager. That's all I said, right? We have to back him no matter what.
You've got to back him. You've got to back him. You've got to back him.
And I tell you, right, and I think this show, and I'm not sure, I have not seen the other YouTubes in Spurs, has anyone come out and say back him? Right? And all I see, everyone is doing reaction shows about us getting relegated, Bro, it's not happened yet. So put in that positive mindset, right, and back this manager. And if he fails, then pray, right, that, you know, we get that decision correct one last time. If not, bro, we are heading downwards. It looks like we're being sabotaged from inside. These players don't want to play for us, right?
Exactly.
And hold on, if I was Tudor, and if these players don't want to play for us, he must have the balls, right? Igor Tudor, if you're listening to me now, right? If anybody out here who knows him, tell him, play the fucking youth. Show an example. Show them that you are in charge. VDV, if he really ignored you in that game, don't play him against Fulham. Right? Find a way. If not, these players, right, aren't going to play for you. And that's what happened to Frank. They weren't playing for him because I don't blame them. Right? Their balls were grabbed away. They were heartbroken. Right? What do you expect from them? I know, too emotional. And the worst part is that our recruitment team, right, picked up a bunch of emos. Oh, not professional enough. That's what I say.
Absolutely.
No
but here, I'm going to ask you two questions. First of all, let's sort of segue to what you just said about how Igor Tudor needs to, in the words of my good friend Kenny Kent, put his nuts on the table. Let me cast your mind back to that incident after a home game. I think, was it against Chelsea? I forget which, where Van der Ven and Spence basically just blanked Frank all the way back to the changing rooms, right? Was that against Chelsea?
Yeah. I can't remember. Because I think Frank went out there to ask them to clap the fans or something.
Yes, exactly. That's the one. That is it. Yeah. That is it. Now, the thing is, Frank was only too ready, mind you, to lay down the law when he dropped Yves Bissouma from the Super Cup squad, if you remember correctly. If he was that, much of a disciplinarian, he should have continued in that vein and also spoke about disciplining Van der Ven and Spence after that, incident, everything that happened when they pulled that start.
To tell the truth, right? The problem with Frank is that, right, he came in, right, and he didn't get the respect of the players, right? If Bissouma was put down, cast aside for tardiness, right, and you bring him back, right, that means that you're willing to accept to break your own rules. You get what I'm saying? So I guess that is a stupid move by him.
I don't know if Bissouma was brought back immediately though, but Van der Ven and Spence should have been disciplined, and the fact that they weren't means that was a failing of his.
Yeah, the thing is true. All of them should be disciplined, but the problem is that our club don't have the balls. We don't know. The last manager that actually had balls was Conte. That's all. Yes, even no matter what Ange won us a trophy, right? I will forever be thankful and respectful towards that, right? And respecting that we won a trophy. He too had issues because he said that he wanted certain players and he didn't get them, but he didn't make a fuss about it, right? Maybe because he knew what kind of club that he was getting into, to go against Daniel Levy at the time. So they accepted it, and when the results turned bad, he had to take responsibility. He knew that. So when Ange said that he knew what he was getting into, he really knew that. So I'm sure now whoever comes into Spurs now, right? Because we all see this is all prime at this moment for Pochettino to come back. And to tell the truth, I don't actually want Poch back, right? Because we are in such a mess. You know what I'm saying? We're in such a mess. So leaving it now, the games that we have, we must go in with a certain mindset. And if we can't get that mindset out of these players, he has to make the decision, right? Because if you give the youngsters a chance, right, maybe they will put in a performance. At the moment, we look like we're lost, and we've been lost for so many games. So that's the problem. Right?
I would say so. And I wonder if you remember on one of the occasions when Spurs got relegated. I think that was sometime in the 70s, I think.
76, 77 season, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. So that was just before I was born, but you still would have been, quite young then, if memory serves me right. That was actually the season not too long afterwards.
9 years old.
Yeah. So that was probably the season after that Pat Jennings actually moved from Spurs to Arsenal. And, he is one of those players who's respected by both fan bases. But if you were young then and fairly impressionable, you will remember, obviously, that season, at least in some respects. How would you compare the feeling around the club then to what's going on right now? Because obviously the club, as big as it was, is nowhere near quite as big as it is now, I would say.
No, to tell the truth, guys, I don't actually remember much of any of that season because I think I was like 8 or 9 years old, right? And I think at the time I was still in London. But my interest and when I fell in love with Spurs, it was in the 80s, right? 81, 82, and in the 80s, as I said, starting from the 80s, I more or less started to follow Spurs more closely. So to tell the truth, I don't know what that felt during that time. To tell the truth, it would have felt like shit, right? Being relegated, and at least we got back up. The only problem now is that if we do get relegated, right? I don't turn this into a relegation kind of a show because that would be a totally different show. If we do get relegated, it will hurt like shit. But my stance is that our fan base needs to wake up. We are not too big to fall. That's all I say. But the only thing is now we must have this sense, right, of understanding. We have to put out that positive kind of energy out there that we are not going to fall. Right? If we put out the negative energy out there, we're going to fall, then we're going to fall. But hopefully, right, Tudor must be given time and to show that whether he can do the job. And to tell you the truth, if he can't do the job, then it will be scary. But like I said, I guess Spurs fans are going to have a really roller coaster ride this season, and it's going all the way to the last game as I predicted. And the Everton game will be an actual, really important game. To tell the truth, that game would turn out to be a surprise, right? And most probably will scrape through at the skin of our teeth, right? And it'll be dramatic because I think all the games are being played at the same time. Then there'll be certain scores, certain goals, things will be going up and down. That is the drama that we have to go through, right? And when we survive, right, this relegation drop, right, and then we're gonna celebrate it, right, and then we're gonna celebrate it like a trophy, like trophy.
Oh, that's the worst thing you
hold
can do.
Hold on. That's why, right, I said Spurs fan base, a majority of them have got this deluded pride. We celebrate the most shittiest things, right? Coming in second, coming in third, right? Fourth, champions, what the fourth place trophy. Now the fourth place trophy has become the fifth place trophy, right? So celebrating getting into the Champions League. That's why I say that we have deluded pride, and we have to wake up from that. Stop being deluded and get real pride, because real pride is when we win a trophy. I'm supposed to feel proud that we won the Europa League Cup, but the sad thing is that I don't know why. Right? We can't feel proud about it.
I can't even call it an imposter syndrome. It's that, certain fans, I think maybe they have this idea that the thought of celebrating something like that would be, repulsive because the competition is nowhere near the standard as it was. But then I think that's answered by the fact that Bodo Glimt, who you beat over both legs in the semi-final, provided one of the biggest shocks of this tournament by knocking out an underperforming Inter Milan in the playoffs. So, I think the thing about Ange and the thing about that Europa League triumph last year is that over the course of time, that accomplishment will gain a lot more significance and a lot more admiration among the fans. And if you recall, I think when Keith Birkinshaw got sacked not too long afterwards, that was the time when he said there used to be a football club over there, if memory serves me right. I don't know if the circumstances were necessarily that similar. It could very well be that just as Birkinshaw eventually ended up being welcomed back with open arms, it could very well be after a period of time, people will start to realize just what an amazing accomplishment that Europa League was under Ange. And they may say, you know what, we are united in saying that that you are always a wonderful part of our history. And that is the way it is. You have this division among Spurs fans where some people you even said that day in your talk with Craig from Up the Cherries in All Departments, are Levy in. Because I think they still have PTSD from the sugar years or thereabouts where financially you didn't know if you were going to survive. Now at least you've got money in the bank, money rolling, although instead you are willing to throw money to get managers in. But the wage structure needs to be, completely altered because the players, in comparison, are being paid a pittance. I mean, you're paying big wages to a guy you signed in January, and the captain and vice captain aren't being paid that much. There's so much wrong with the way things are being run. And again, it's always a case of, the fish rotting from the head down. And that is really the crux of everything. The only way that Spurs can be saved is if the club will agree to completely sell. And although Levy is left, his stench or shadow still remains. So I think a lot of people are just hoping for the day that the club will be sold to some new owners who will have the best interests of the club at heart. Heck, we even want the Cronkies to sell Arsenal to some owners who actually give a crap. And yet that's not going to happen. And that's why we are divided, different parts of North London, but we are so similar, it's scary. The only difference is, as I said, we are higher in the league.
No, of course you're high in the league. You're top of the league, right? And we're 16. So we ain't going to go there, right? But what I'm saying now is that like you said before, all this is the remnants of what Levy has created. Simple as that. Levy has created, I would say, Levy has cornered a certain fan base which is dormant. I mean, not say dormant, docile, right? They won't fight back, they won't do anything. So that's where we are now. And because of being badly run for 25 years, apart from the financial part that we are now sustainable, we can generate money and income and all that. But the problem is that, of course, we still have about a 600 million pound debt that we have to pay because of the stadium we built, right? The only thing is he's been pulled out, right? And there's been a lot of gaps left open. And how they're going to fill it up is up to them, right? And the owners of the club has a responsibility to the fans, right? To at least let them know what's their plan. But they're slowly putting out snippets of PR notes and all that, right? They said that if we make it into the Premier League, if we are still in the Premier League next season, they are going to rip up everything and start from fresh. And to tell the truth, that even scares me more, because ripping up everything and start from fresh doesn't mean that it's going to be a good thing, because they don't even know what they're doing now. You'd expect them to know what they're going to do when they rip everything up and start from fresh. That means most probably we're going to be a mid-table team for the next 3 to 4 years before we start to build and see something. And hopefully by then, it could be Poch that's bringing us back up, right? Hopefully. That's how I see it. But that's not how I see it. That's what the fan base wants. And that's how I will see them doing that, is because that's the only way that makes the fan base happy, right? And when you make your fan base happy and you treat them like customers, then the money will still keep on rolling. So that's what is the most important thing for them. That's how I see it. Not the football.
Hook, line, and sinker.
Right. Not the football and not the trophies. But what else can I say? Right, being a Spurs fan, can't compare it with an Arsenal fan who's sitting top of the league, right? What are your actual feelings now, Mani? Do you think that you guys are really going to win it this season?
I am going to plead the Fifth Amendment and say that I am not going to assume anything until we play a certain number of games. And we've also got to play Manchester City at the Etihad.
Yeah.
And it is imperative that we succeed where you succeeded these past 2 seasons. The 4-0 win under Ange and now 2-0 under Thomas Frank. And, again, thank you for that leg up. Dominic Solanke's 2 goals were wonderful, I have to say. And, again, the thing about us is that performance against Wolves, the way we capitulated after going up 2-0 was the shabbiest, most disgraceful performance I've ever seen. I didn't think we'd play any worse than when we just beat Wolves 2-1 at the Emirates, thanks to 2-1 goals. But we did. It was worse than anything ever seen under Unai Emery. I'm going to say this right now. Unai Emery wasn't with us very long. Arteta's now been with us for going on 6 full seasons, and that half season when we won the FA Cup. And it was just disgusting. We got ourselves psyched up for the North London derby, and obviously, when it comes to playing the North London derby and also the other London derbies, like against Chelsea or what have you, we always seem to psych ourselves up for it. When we have to sort of satisfy a vendetta or make things personal, we have a knack of doing well. Like when Aston Villa beat us 2-1 with that last-minute Emi Buendia goal. That spawned so many memes. We were made fun of all around. We responded by beating them 4-1 at the Emirates, and we, got our retribution. But then, if we were to at least focus more on winning games because we have to win them to win the championship, and not just to satisfy our own, personal vendettas and soothe some hurt feelings, we'd already have 2 Premiership trophies under Mikel Arteta, and fans like myself would be saying, you know what? He's proven himself definitely well, and I'm happy to keep him for as long as possible. But whenever we seem to be on the cusp of something, we always find a way to soil the bed, and we soil our underclothes. It's a disgusting analogy, but I have to sort of say it that way. And there is nothing in me to suggest that now that Eze and Gyökeres have proven why they deserve to start, there is nothing in me that says that Arteta will now start to be more humble and say, you know what, now that I found what works, I'm going to stick with it. No, because he has his favourites. There was talk about a falling out of sorts between him and our club captain, Martin Odegaard. But you just know that Odegaard will soon be brought back in, or Kai Havertz. One way or another, Ebery Eze won't really see too much first-team action between now and the end of the season. If he does, and Gyökeres continues to start, we win. And that would be great. And then in the summer, we cull some of the players who've sort of served their purpose and can no longer contribute. And then we go again next season, and then we look to either defend our league title or make another positive crack at it. But if we fail to win, there's no hiding for Arteta here. He has to leave. No ifs, no buts, no walnuts. And so I don't want to, assume anything. I don't want to celebrate trophies we haven't won yet.
But hold on, talk about trophies, right? You are in the final of the Carabao Cup, if I'm not mistaken. Then it's coming up, right? So if he wins that, right, would you say he's entitled to stay?
If he wins the League Cup and nothing else, no. If he wins the League Cup and the FA Cup, or just the FA Cup, no. 6 full years is the major trophies that count. And don't get me wrong, the League Cup and the FA Cup still carry a great deal of historical and sentimental appeal. But in terms of, monetary rewards, you won't get peanuts for that these days. It's the big trophies, the Premiership or the European. Exactly. It's the big trophies, the Premiership or the European trophies that really, handsomely reward you. And
would you take it if he just won the Champions League?
For me, Premier League or Champions League, he stays one more year. And then he goes again and keeps proving himself. He doesn't get to stay for as long as he wants and continue to live off past glories the way Arsene Wenger did. 22 years from that season, we're still asking certain fans, is yours gold? Well, no, ours may not be gold, but we've won it more recently than you, so shut your mouth and stay in your lane. That is the response that people will get. And that is another reason why I don't want to be that sort of person who still, harks on past glories. Our European legacy is appalling. The only European trophies we've won are now defunct. And you were the first team to win one of those defunct trophies, the European Cup Winners' Cup. So your European legacy compared to us is magnificent. 3 UEFA Cups, a European Cup Winners' Cup. We only won the European Cup Winners' Cup and some cup called the Fairs Cup, whose records aren't even maintained by UEFA. So that's just poor. And, we haven't won the league in several years.
Yeah, but the thing is that we've not won the Champions League either. You know what I'm saying? But if Torok Mark II says, right, if this guy is your new coach, right, would that lead you to the Premiership, to League 2?
But you've reached the Champions League final more recently than we have.
Yeah.
And I know that's not something to celebrate. I know I do seem to remember, watching a stream where one fan who was talking said that one of her best memories as a Spurs fan was seeing Lucas Moura score that hat-trick in Amsterdam to send you through to the Champions League final by the skin of your teeth. The timing was just exquisite. And then Poch, completely craps the bed by dropping Lucas Moura in favour of a half-fit Kane, and the rest is history. So it was all for nothing in the end, quite simply. And so one of the reasons why I like coming on these Spurs streams, Eugene, be it with you or be it with the Spurs analyst or others, is because I don't come with the mentality of, we're your biggest rivals, we're doing so much better than you, because there was a time I remember when you were doing better than us. You were qualified, you were finishing above us in the table under Poch, and you were qualifying for the Champions League. And then once we, lost our sequence of qualifying for the Champions League regularly, that was when we knew that things, had gotten so bad that we needed to change. And so everything's a cycle. Football moves in cycles. I'd like to think that we are smart.
For Spurs, but for Spurs, right, our cycles are much longer.
True. Very true. And that's what makes it all the more maddening. I mean, I don't know if you enjoy watching movies, but I remember in 1994, I think it was, when Steven Spielberg won the Best Director and Best Picture awards for Schindler's List. He called it the best drink of water after the longest drought in your life. 41 years without a European trophy. I mean, you probably will remember the 1984 UEFA Cup win when you were, I think, at least in your teens. And maybe you mildly remember it, but it still felt good. I saw you at the Mamak shop when, you won the Europa League final.
Yeah.
There were literal tears of joy. How the hell do you not want to build on that, for peace sake?
Yeah, that's Spurs, right? As I said, we are Spurs. And to tell the truth, right? Being in this position now, we all know it is because of Daniel Levy. We have to see it in that sense. And Levy being sacked, and now our club is in more of a disarray, is because he was in control of everything. So going down to that sense now is that we have to give not only, Tudor a chance, we have to give the new owners a chance, because they've just been in control for the past 6 months, even though a lot of people say that, most probably they've been pulling the strings behind, maybe not, but the sad part is that the reflection is getting worse and worse. You understand? We're not bringing in real football people. We get rid of them. Vinay, to tell the truth, I hated it when he came in from the beginning, the start, right? I said, get the Gunner out of my club, right? What the hell is Levy doing bringing a Gunner to the club? Has he lost his mind, right? And the thing is that we appointed Lange, right? And then we put Lange and Paratici as the, what I call DOFs. What the hell is that? That's a dumb move, right? And because we brought in Frank is like a country made of Lange, if I'm not mistaken, right? A Langer or Lange, right? And they were protecting each other. So, and Paratici was forced out. Yes, so, and then we bring, and the weird part is, we bring the manager that Paratici suggested. We sack Frank and hire him in December, right? And give him players and bring in players, right? To help us fight this relegation scenario or the losses that we've been having. But no, we don't do that. We keep him on for another 2 more months. Actually, 1 more month after the transfer window shuts. That's when we can't do shit now, right? And the injuries are mounting. So this is all the build-up from the mismanagement for the past 24, 25 years, guys. So all I'm saying now is that get behind the manager, put out the positive feeling out there. If not, right, we are really going to get relegated. And when that happens, to tell the truth, let's see, more of us will wake up and understand, right? The problem are the owners, right? It comes down to that. So I most probably, Manny, any more else to talk about? Because, let's get predictions for our 2 games. We are playing Fulham and Palace, right? And who are you playing?
Ooh, well, let me just take a look and see what we are. I mean, after beating you, we don't have. Oh, we've got Chelsea coming up at home. That is a game where I expect us to win, because Chelsea look absolutely awful right now under Rosenia.
What's your prediction?
We should win that. If we don't win that 3-1, it will be, quite shameful. Although I'll take a win anyway, because winning is a statement.
Right.
And then we play. Yeah, and then we play Brighton and Hove Albion at the Amex Stadium. It's an away game, obviously, so it's the likes of Trossard and Ben White going back to their old club. We have a decent record at the Amex. I don't remember the time we lost playing away from home. They have given us problems on our home patch, but I think this time around I am confident of predicting a 2-1 win. And then, of course, we have Mansfield Town in the FA Cup. We have an easy arse draw this time around, so it's no excuse if we don't win.
We are not in it.
Yeah,
so we don't.
Obviously.
All right, okay.
Hold on.
You're going for Chelsea 3-1. You're gonna win because you're playing at home, right?
Yep, we're playing at home.
Then it's going to be another 2-1.
That's at Brighton, yes.
2-1 Brighton. All right. The Spurs game, Spurs Fulham. away?
Yeah, listen, I'll look at this right now. Fulham, I'm not gonna lie, they are going through a pretty decent run of form right now. I mean, no, actually, they're not. The form is not so good, but they did have an impressive win over Sunderland at the Stadium Flight. I wasn't expecting them to win. Their last 6 games, their record is played 6, lost 4, only won 2, and they had lost 3 in a row prior to that win over Sunderland. So
Right.
I know they beat you on your home ground, but there is no reason why, if you put pressure on them, you can't eke out a win. Yes, they've got Jimenez. Yes, they've got Iwobi and several other ex-Gooners, and they have a decent defense. But I'd like to see you possibly get. I'll be honest. I think this probably might end up in a draw, either 1-1 or 2-2. But if you do manage to beat them at home, I wouldn't be surprised on their home patch.
So
and then
the draw, right?
Yeah. But Crystal Palace is a game which you should aim to win at home, and the reason why is because they're still trying to, really rediscover themselves. It will, of course, be a homecoming for Brennan Johnson. I think he will have some points to prove. Your only hope is that he doesn't win all 3 for Crystal Palace. That's going to be very, very awkward. Just get your defense right, get your formation right. And tactically as well, I thought it was quite irresponsible for Tudor to, and I think I said this on your watch-along, to consider playing a back 3 when you don't have enough fit central defenders. Palhinha belongs in the midfield. So if it means having to play, a back 4 and try and see the strong midfield work effectively, then that's fine. That is sometimes what you have to do. You can't just impose your style almost immediately. And Ange found that to his detriment when he took the Nottingham Forest job. He admitted he never should have taken that because he never had a pre-season to work with the boys. And although Forest were playing some good football under him, they weren't getting the results and he had to be sacked. So I'll say this right now. I'd like to see Nottingham Forest go down more than Spurs. I don't think I want to see Spurs go down at all. And not because I'm worried about where we're going to get our next 6 points from in subsequent seasons. No, I have too much respect for you for that. But the way Nottingham Forest, have run as well, in Marinakis, that Greek, swine, they've got someone who might be even worse than Daniel Levy. And you better count your blessings, mind you, that you don't have that Greek idiot man in charge of your club. Because, he's a mafia boss in many ways.
Yeah, but at least he has the passion to want the club to win, right? And he keeps his best player and all that. But okay, what's your prediction? Crystal Palace Spurs?
Yeah, so for Spurs Palace, 2-1. It'll be stinky, it'll be scammy, jammy,
Spurs,
the whole lot.
Spurs 2-1.
Yeah.
All right, Spurs 2-1.
I think Brennan Johnson might get the Palace goal, but it will probably be either I think Colomwani might score.
Again, yeah, I do see.
Yeah.
I do see. So my
calling
prediction
it
for the Chelsea or Arsenal, I think Arsenal turns up for the big games, all right, and then they will win. Okay. The Brighton game is the one. That's MX, right? They might turn off again, and I predict that to be a draw. Okay, so you get 4 points out there. Let's see what Man City do. All right. As for the Spurs game, I'm going to predict the 2 games 2-2 draw. That's what I see, right? We'll call it solidifying performance out there. 2-2 draw. I'll be happy. So, all right. In last words.
Nothing much else. All I can say is I wish you good luck between now and the rest of the season. I don't think you'll go down because I have seen my share of poor Spurs teams over the years struggle horribly. In the early 90s, I remember it was the season after you won the FA Cup that you were in grave danger of going down. And that was also Gary Lineker's final season at Spurs, if memory serves me right. And like I said, there have been seasons where you've looked terrible, but somehow you found a way to, pull the chestnuts out of the fire. I think this season will be no different. But, next season, you are going to have to clean your stables and go on. And I think Tudor will be quite happy to leave the club knowing that he did what he set out to do. But Don't take any games lightly, because even West Ham could also spring a surprise. I think you might want to look at maybe trying to do well against Nottingham Forest, and look for some other games where you can try and raise your performance, if you can. And we'll see where the chips fall.
Yeah, and of course, I wish you best of luck and not win the cup, not win any cups. Oh my!
Anything less from you?
Before we go, right? Big up to Turok, Makto, and Dio, and Guy, right? Big up to you guys, right? Who else has been here before? And of course, Marco, Psycho Teacher was here earlier, right? Thanks for support. Manny's here with me now. And guys, thanks for being here. Please subscribe, like, and share, and hit the notification bell if you have time to. And of course, don't forget, right? I got 2 more channels linked that we do shows, and sometimes we do throughout. It's through Shelfside Spurs, and of course, through KVR TV, guys. Go on and give them a sub too. Right. Take care. And of course, come on, you Spurs. And he's going to say in Tudor we trust, right? Now I'm going to say is that Tudor is Tudor.